Hello, parents. Today, we're going to talk about why you should consider opting for accounts for your child when your child is moving from grade 8 to grade 9 in IGCSE. If you ask me as a teacher, I think the foremost reason is accounts. It's a very practical subject. So, like tomorrow, if your child, when he or she grows up, whether they are having their own business, whether they are working in a corporate, or even if they are an engineer or an artist, they need to be able to understand, like they need to be able to read an income statement. They need to be able to understand what a balance sheet is or what a depreciation is. So I think everyone, irrespective of which area we are working, but we need to have a basic understanding of account. So that's why I think I as a teacher, I suggest that accounts from that perspective, it's a very practical subject, very relevant subject in the day-to-day life. So I mean, we can always argue, like that. Of course, there is an accountant, and you can take the help of an accountant. But the fact is, even when accountant is giving you an advice, now until you have a basic understanding of accounts, you cannot even understand or comprehend what his advice really means. Or even like day-to-day decisions in your day-to-day life or your business, or you want to make an investment, you want to join somebody's business, somebody else wants to join your business. The things like you want to save on taxes, how to minimize your cost. So what the point that I'm trying to make is, I think this is not just from an academic point of view, but accounts is it is one of the practical subject जो कि मतलब हम सब, like all of us, we need it, like we need to understand it, whether so everyone has to have a basic understanding of accounts. The second reason that I can think of is, typically what I have seen in these years, many students, they, after their IGCSE, they opt for, they want to go to the commerce stream or economics or accounts or finance. So because of that, they want to take accounts after their IGCSE, let's say A levels, or of course IBDP doesn't offer accounts. Now there, the challenge that they face, because it becomes very difficult for them to cope up there, because they do not know the basics of it, and A levels account is quite, let's say, tough. So in fact, every year we face this problem. I try to share with parents, this thing, but the schools will tell you, no, we will have like a 6 week or a 8 weeks program where we can cover up the basics and all. But the fact is, what the child is learning in 2 years cannot be covered in those 6 to 8 weeks. See, I mean, as the school can always teach those concepts, as a teacher, I can teach those concepts. For me, I mean, you give me 2 3 days and I can teach you all the basic concepts. But the fact is, the child needs some time, when they're doing it day in, day out, those sums and those topics, and when they're doing those problems over a period of time. So then only they develop that sort of an understanding. Okay, what is income statement? What is balance sheet? Like you just ask them randomly something. So only when they comprehend, only when it gets into them, which takes time. So it becomes very challenging. And I've had, like cases where student, in spite of the student being good, he or she is working hard. I am also trying, to work hard with him, but it becomes quite tough for them to cope up, to get that kind of a comfort. And then A levels, you have to do all the topics, you have to have a good understanding, you have to do the sums, you have to solve a number of papers. Now while you're solving the number of papers in A levels, the sums are quite tough there, those things. So it's, the student has to have a really good grasp of account. The sums are, because A level, whether it's not only math, I mean accounts, whether it's maths or economics or any other subject, they become tough for that matter. So I think this is a problem they face. And rather, um, what I would say here is that, even if, see, let's take it the other way around. So what I'm saying is, if the child tomorrow, see, you never know, because they're still young. Now today they may feel, no, I want to go for engineering, I go for this, I want to, and but tomorrow they change their mind, and it happens so frequently. So, but what the way I look at it is, tomorrow, if they had accounts, if they take accounts in their IGCSE, and tomorrow if they want to switch to the commerce stream, at least this problem will not, they will not face this problem. On the other hand, what if they do not? Now, though, I think then it is still better that they have accounts, because then it's like this. if they do not do if they don't do, let's say, finance or whatever in the 11th and 12th, and even graduation they are doing some engineering, and later on also, so then that means they are not getting exposed to this important subject throughout their this academic journey. So it isn't it all the way better that at least in the ninth and 10th, if they are doing this accounts at IGCSE. And let me tell you, I think at IGCSE, it has a good coverage. It has a good coverage. I think it covers up nicely all the basic concepts. So what I was saying is, even if they suppose later on they don't go for account, at least that way they get an exposure to account in the IGCSE, which will always be. And as I said, that in IGCSE it has a good coverage, so at least the basics of account they get to learn, because anyway then they are not getting this opportunity to learn anywhere else. So I think both ways, I look at it this way, that by helping them taking accounts, or by taking this decision of opting for accounts in the IGCSE, I think we are kind of playing safe both ways, whether this way or that way. I think that's another reason. The one more reason that I can is, typically what I have seen is, students, once they are done with their graduation and all, many of these students, they go for management program in the post graduation, MBA or PGDM, those kind of things. And any management program will have streams such as economics, finance, accounts, cost accounting, taxes, those kind of things will have. Now the problem what they face, again the same thing what I had said earlier, is they have not been exposed to the ABCD of accounts throughout their 15 years or 16 years of studies. Now all of a sudden they are facing this, and they're like, sir, how do we do this? We don't understand this thing. In fact, I have had like many cases where students, once they are done with their graduation and they're planning to go for or after, either after 12 they're going for graduation, or after graduation they're going for post graduation. So they come and request, sir, can we have a crash course kind of a thing? Maybe you can help us know the basics, and also at least tomorrow when we go there we are able to cope up. And we've had those things. But so there again, if they have done accounts in the IGCSE, so they would be knowing all those basics, and whenever in the future they go for this management program and all, they will not have this kind of a thing. And as you can see here, I've also mentioned earlier, because the IBDP, like many students, they go for IBDP. Now IBDP as a program does not offer account. They don't have this option. So the students will not be getting that exposure. So in fact, like I've had parents coming to us and saying, sir, my child is going for IBDP, where they will not be doing accounts, but I want them to have some basic exposure. So again, in those cases, we had, these 4 weeks, 5 weeks kind of a program just to give them. But I think if they do this, accounts in IGCSE, then the problem is taken care. Okay, yeah. The other thing is, accounts, I would say it's a scoring subject, I think, and that's also a very practical, valid point, because I think in the last 13, 14 years that I have been teaching, so how much ever we say, oh, students is doing this and that, but I think 4 students is what I remember are getting a B, and all the other students that I've had so far, many of them have got A stars, and some of them have been toppers, world toppers and national toppers, or at least an A they get. So that way it's in scoring subjects. See, I'm not trying to say that it's a cakewalk, but the one thing which is a plus point is they do not have any backlog. Say whenever they come to me as a teacher, so they're starting with the ABCD. So if I work nicely on their basics, if I teach that so-called ABCD, that debit, credit, and all those things, in a very practical way, and if given the right guidance and preparations and all, so typically even if the student has some gaps, but over a period of time towards the exam, they are able to manage a good score. They are able to manage a good score. And another small thing is, I've heard some parents, saying that, "Haan, sir, accounts or maths to similar hai." See, they're not similar in any way. They're completely two. Maths is maths, and accounts. In accounts, what you're learning is, like how to maintain accounts, how to analyze account, how to, like it's more of a business kind of a subject. Of course, it has some basic application of mathematics, like the whatever you learn in math, the plus, minus, division, ratio, multiplication, or some of the concepts of what you learn in math, those application are there in account, but they are no way, like they're not similar or something. At the same time, some parents feel, no, sir, my child is not very good with math. Does it mean that he or she will also be? Not necessary. As I said, that it has only application of math, what you learn, what a student, what a child learns up to, let's say, 8th grade. So nothing beyond that. So it's not to say if the child is not so good with math, it means necessarily mean. So that's not the case. However, I have, I think, um, the points that I've said so far. So again, number one, I would say it's a very practical subject, very relevant to everyone, irrespective of whether you're an artist or you're an entrepreneur or this thing. Number two, if after the IGCSE, if the student shifts to the commerce side, the finance side, the economic side, so it is definitely advisable, and that he or she has accounts here. And I said, and I remind you again, that in fact it's better agar wo baad mein nahi bhi karta hai, so it is better that he or she gets an exposure of account in the IGCSE. As I also said, that later on agar wo baad mein management programs वगैरह के लिए जाते हैं, तो वहां पर it is helpful. So I think in that, if you consider these 3-4 aspects, these 3-4 points in mind, um, I would recommend, I would advise that you can consider, or you should consider, accounts as a good option, when you're selecting subjects for your child. Also, like, because accounts is a little, see, like some subjects, business studies and all, even if you don't take and you can do later, I think it's not that much of a problem. But with accounts and all, coping up later becomes a little difficult. So I think that way, as I said, maybe it's a good option if you go for accounts. But yeah, I would, having said this, I would definitely say that it's not for everyone. And when I'm saying this, so the parent, as a parent, you would have an idea whether your child has that basic aptitude for this kind of a subject. And what I mean by that is, does your child has that basic sense of business, कि अगर उसको इतना समझ में आता है कि how do I calculate the profit, अगर मेरे को profit calculate करना है, तो मेरा कितना सेल हुआ है, out from the sales I have to minus the cost of my goods, I have to minus all my expenses, at least this kind of a basic sense. Or for example, अगर मुझे, if I have want to increase my profit, then how do I increase my profit? Either I need to increase my sales, or I need, no, I'm just talking about like some common sense. Because why I'm saying like this is, see, let us accept it, like there could be, or there are students, because every child, every student has their own aptitude, strengths, and interest. Some children may be wonderful in their other areas, but I have come across children where account just does not make sense to them. Like they have no aptitude, they just don't understand it. Then certainly I don't think in such cases opting for an account would be a good idea. And at the same time, if you are going for it, then just see to it. I mean, as a parent, you would know, you can always discuss with the other teachers and all, that you would have an idea about what the, presently with the plan that you have for your child, the academic plan, the kind of career path that you're looking at. And I mean, of course, you'd ensure that accounts fits there. ऐसा नहीं हो कि आप just because I'm saying, oh, accounts a good subject, so it becomes too burdening and all. That should not be the case. So it should naturally, organically fit into their plan, not like a forceful kind of thing. So I think these things, you can just keep it in mind. With this, I would say best wishes and the blessings to to the child. I hope these today's talks, these discussions, you find them helpful. All the best.